BC 15, Miami Sports and Exhibition Authority. Vice Chair Hardiman will be appointing Steve Kneapler.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'm sure there's some discussion that's going to happen here also, but I move.
It's been moved by Vice Chairman Hardiman. Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Second for discussion.
I'd like to, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
As we all know, this was part of one of the appointments that I appointed before, and I gave my word to my fellow Commissioner Sarnoff, that I would look into all of the accusations that were made in reference to some issues that he was having with Mr. Kneapler. So after reviewing all that documentation, reviewing the emails, they're much like the type of emails that I receive from my constituents, and I completely understand that sometimes we can all be overwhelmed with the number of emails that we get from certain individuals. And I do not take lightly the statements that were made by you, Commissioner Sarnoff, because I take everything that every commissioner gives me, and I really do think about it all and consider your opinion when I'm making my decisions. When it comes to my decision to appoint this gentleman to the Miami Sports and Exhibition Authority, though, I have a number of reasons that I was thinking about that made me more likely to continue on with the appointment, and then ask the board to render their opinion about it. But in reference to Mr. Kneapler himself, him and I mean, he's about 74, 75 years old, so he's twice or more my elder. But with that age, he has a tremendous amount of experience. And just some of the things I want to note about him. During the Carollo administration in the 90s, Mayor Carollo asked him to be the sole negotiator for the city for the sale of approximately 19 acres of land to the county. And that's where the American Airlines Arena currently sits. It took about 9 months, but in that deal, he was able to get more than 100% of the assessed value for that land. And Mayor Regalado appointed him to the Bayfront Park Trust at a time where there were issues related to the integrity of the management and misuse of funds. And as a board member, he directed the effort to help uncover abuses on behalf of the trust and end the result being the discovery of that abuse and the halt of abuse, and helping the trust begin to be put in a position where they can accumulate millions of dollars for the use of the city. Mayor Regalado also asked him to negotiate on behalf of the city with Sofo Construction to help lower the cost of the city building the Marlins parking garage, so that there was some savings in that negotiation. Mayor Tomas Regalado also had him intervene on behalf of the city and lead the city to renegotiate the terms of the Flagstone Agreement. Mayor Regalado also asked him to intervene in the Parrot Jungle negotiations last year, and he was successful in getting the city about $2 million in payments due on time. And also through the years, he's helped when asked by others to intervene with the city on a variety of issues that are too numerous to enumerate. And I do realize that there is some pending litigation that is going on right now that was initiated by this gentleman, where he's asking for a writ of injunction. And the spirit of that is because he feels as if, and I think this is something that we all feel, that we have to follow our processes, our codified ordinances, and any charter that we have, and it is in the spirit of that. He's not getting paid from it. He's not suing for any type of damages, et cetera, et cetera. And also, I mean, even at the January 23rd meeting, Mayor Regalado recognized him for his efforts that he's been making. And so with all of that in consideration, when I think about the fact that he's helped draft RFPs and things of that nature, there's a tremendous amount of knowledge that he has that he can impart upon me while being on that committee where I am sitting on. And because of that, I'm asking that this commission give me the ability to have someone near and dear to me, close to me on the board, that can give me the type of advice that I can utilize to make my decisions. I know that on that board, we all have all of our own appointments, and there is no objection to those appointments. And particularly to Commissioner Sarnoff, the promise that I make to you is that you won't have any other types of outbursts from him. And if there are, I will immediately begin to the process of removing him from that committee, because on the committee he represents me. At the time that the emails were made, he was not a representation of me, and I want this commission to feel comfort in knowing that I would not allow anyone to disrespect any of the commissioners that are here or anyone sitting on that board. It is one of it is of great concern to me, and allow me, in a sense, and I hate to say this about a 74-ish old man, but allow me to control what's happening within my appointments to this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Arroyo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually would like to hear from Commissioner Sarnoff, because I think he pretty much was the main person that had the issue. Now, mind you, I don't take it lightly, the lawsuit, and that was the first thing that came to mind when I heard about it. But I think I will want to yield to Commissioner Sarnoff, because he really is the one who raised the objection. And by all means, I think that any commissioner that has an issue should be able to come to their colleagues and be able to express that. So I think out of courtesy, I would like to yield to Commissioner Sarnoff.
Commissioner Suarez. I'm sorry, Sarnoff. I'm going to the request.
The extremes here. The extreme sides.
Maybe you should. I'm going to ask you to yield to me simply because I want to put some things on the record, and then you can either work on those things or suggest.
Sure. Let's do that.
So, Commissioner Hardiman, I just want to give you some due diligence up here. I take it that in the emails I've submitted to you, it's okay that a man can call another man a pussy or make some anti-Semitic comments to him, which apparently are not that troubling. So those are on the record. When we were at the public hearing stage of the going out for the RFP and the referendum, just so you know, Mr. Kneapler came up to me, chest-butted me, and was immediately pulled back by a sergeant of arms. Maybe that's acceptable behavior to you. I don't think it is. The chief of police was able to resolve that. I certainly didn't strike Mr. Kneapler, and I did not respond to his remark to me that he is going to crush me and fuck me up. The other thing I'd let you know, he is a man who is permanently enjoined from the United States, by the United States government, to engage in securities. There's a permanent injunction against him for securities. You should also know that he presently owes the United States government $450,000 in back taxes, having lost his appeal at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, and it's presently, as best we could tell, still unpaid. I'd also suggest to you that when he sat on the selection committee for the RFP, he failed to disclose to that city manager right there. He chose to give one corporation that he had in his Brickell apartment, failing to disclose 11 other corporations that exist at Monty's physical address. If you look at them carefully, you see he is the food and beverage man at Monty's. Now, if this is acceptable behavior to you, if this is who you choose to put on your board, I might be able to help you with getting a better understanding of MISA. I think I'm, believe it or not, Commissioner Carollo's appointment to MISA. At least that's my recollection of it. I'd be more than glad to resign and put you on MISA. Don't need to be there if that's your concern about MISA. But I'm telling you, you do not put a man who is suing the city of Miami, who is in his addendum clause, not just suing for injunctive relief. And I think you should read the addendum clause carefully. I would never put a man on this board who confronted you. I would never put a man on this board who called you a pussy. I would never put a man on this board that did anything resembling any accusations of your skin color, I would never put a man on this board that owes the United States government in excess of $450,000. I would never put a man on a board who is enjoined from engaging in securities from the United States government. I would never put a man on a board who has a host of surreptitious ties to the city of Miami at Monty's, a place that he never disclosed that to that man right there when he put him on an RFP board. And I think if Johnny Martinez were completely frank and honest with him, he would probably say that one of his missives here in the city of Miami was putting Steve Kneapler on that committee for the referendum. And just so you know, he's the only person on that board to give 0 points. 0 points. That means they got zero, nothing, on his fiduciary obligation to review this. He was able to produce nothing for the RFP winner. I would strongly urge you, as a colleague, to rethink your position, to reconsider. I think we could appoint you right now to the MISA board to satisfy you that you're now not getting secondhand information, not getting information from a man who's enjoined from securities engagement in the United States of America, not getting information from a man who owes the United States government in excess of $450,000 in back taxes, that you could directly engage in MISA and have a say, a thought, and a vote directly on there. Because if that is your concern, we can resolve that concern without having to put a man on a board that should concern all of us, that we're all on notice of now as a result of the due diligence that I've put up here.
Mr. Chair, unless you want to specifically.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to thank the commissioners for taking up my appointment in the prior vote and appointing and waiving the attendance requirements for my appointee. I was in the back. I'm having a little bit of a complicated day because it's my wife's birthday. It's Valentine's Day tomorrow, and we're about to have a baby. So all conspiring to happen right around the same time. I regret not being here the first time that this issue was brought up, and so it became viewed as an issue that only Commissioner Sarnoff had with the appointee. Since I've been here on the commission, I think for 4 years, I don't think there's ever been a vote on an appointee that I voted against. I can't recall one, to be honest with you. And I don't think there's been a circumstance where I haven't supported a commissioner in their desire to appoint a specific person to a board. I have to say that this particular case is extremely concerning for me. I think concerning is probably a mild word. This individual, whom, by the way, I've never met, I don't know if he's in the audience or not. I don't know if he's here. I don't know what he looks like. I know that he's been around for a long time, and I know things of him, but I don't know who he is. He has very, very strong opinions about me that he's expressed to others that is troubling, given the fact that he doesn't know who I am and that I've never met him. I've never had a conversation with him. So I find that to be troublesome, aside from all the other things that the commissioner articulated about him from a due diligence perspective. The fact that one of the things that was recited about his quote-unquote accomplishments was that he supposedly negotiated on behalf of the city the issue with Parrot Jungle is extremely troubling to me, first of all, because I had no knowledge that this supposed individual was empowered to negotiate on behalf of the city of Miami with one of our major issues that is a multi-million-dollar circumstance that the city of Miami was having. So this knowledge of this supposed good deed that this individual did coming to my attention is shocking, to be honest with you, because I don't know who the city manager was at the time, but I don't recall there being any sort of a memo as we get, for example, when we have union negotiations where there's a team of people that are empowered to act on behalf of the city of Miami. I don't recall there ever being any sort of delegation of duty to this individual. I don't know what his qualifications are. I think the fact that he happens to be a contracted party with the city in one of his 11 corporations, or I don't know how many corporations he has, I don't really care, to be honest with you. But the fact that he is contracted to do business with the city of Miami should not only prevent him from being on a selection committee on a business that he competes with, which I think is absurd and a violation of ethics, but aside from that, I don't know how he could be given the right to negotiate on behalf of the city of Miami when he is contracted to work with the city of Miami. So I'm having obviously serious issues with this. I have never met the man. He's never reached out to me in 4 years that I've been an elected official. He clearly has some and I've been told from a variety of people that he has some very strong opinions about me and my intellectual capacities or lack thereof, and which I find kind of interesting given my academic credentials. But everyone's entitled to their opinion. There are sayings that everyone has certain parts of their anatomy, and therefore they're entitled to have their opinion as well. So, any event, I don't know, to be honest with you. I wholeheartedly respect, and I want to support the commissioner's recommendation. MISA and Commissioner Carollo, interestingly, who doesn't serve on MISA but attends MISA regularly, and has expressed a lot of heartburn over things that happen at MISA, and rightfully so, to be honest with you. It's in a very fragile state right now because we are still not really generating any revenue. We're trying to resolve a couple of things that would hopefully get MISA back on track, and there's still some controversy relating to how people want to use MISA or utilize MISA to do certain deals. I like the Commissioner Sarnoff's idea of putting you on MISA, because I would love to have you on MISA, and I think it would be great to have you there. Go ahead.
I think he's on. I think
You are on MISA. You are on MISA.
I am on MISA,
Yeah.
and I don't want to belabor this point. I don't want to belabor this discussion, and I want everyone here to know, and Commissioner Sarnoff, you're in your lawyer's walk around the chair, but I want you to understand, this commission to understand that because this is an issue that is, and that was going to be foreseen to be a part of something that we needed to vote on, there was no way that I can have a conversation with you about this. So the only way that we can discuss these things is before this commission. And so you have to understand that when I bring this forward, it's by no means to insult any commissioner, but unless we violate the law, there is no other way that we can have this type of conversation, right? And you brought forth some additional things that you didn't bring up before, obviously, because we couldn't have that discussion prior. I mean, you brought up one objection and a few other when I first brought forth his name, and I did read through I did read through the emails and such. I cannot condone any type of misbehavior by any grown man, right? And there are things that I could say in response to some of the comments that you made, Commissioner. And for instance, the $450,000 in back taxes. Hey, that means he made a lot of good money somewhere. I've never owed that much money in back taxes, but maybe I wish I would, because I mean I made a lot more money than what I owe. But those are things that I hear loud and clear from the commission, and I want to be able to have this discussion with everyone so that I can move forward and make the decision the best way that I know how. And the only way that I could do this, Commissioner Sarnoff, was to bring this to this body for us to discuss it in open public. Obviously, he's been appointed to many other boards. Obviously, he was appointed to the RFP thing. Obviously, you know, he's been around for a very long time. So at some point, he was in good grace. And by no means do I want to put a thorn into the side of any commissioner or the commission as a whole. And because of such apprehension with this, you know, I will withdraw this permanently. So, but I want you to know that the only way that we could ever have this discussion is by means of bringing it before this commission so we could talk about that. Is that okay?
it's your call, and it's an appreciated call.
Yeah, and I would appreciate it as well. And let me just say that again, I'm shocked to hear that any person who is not an employee of the City of Miami would be negotiating on behalf of the city. Wait, let me finish. I want to reiterate that. I'm shocked to hear that. Secondly, I am, and I've expressed this before, that I am concerned that someone who, in my opinion, should not have been on a selection committee to begin with because they have a competing business interest is now turning around and suing the City of Miami, saying that the competitive process that he should have never been a part of was flawed. To me, that is the height. I mean, that's just incredible. But I mean, it is what it is. Having said all that, I am by no means a perfect person. By no means, by any stretch of the imagination. My door is open to that individual to come and talk to me. I've never, like I said, I don't know what he even looks like. He can come in, talk to me, sit with me, and try to convince me that I have a misunderstanding of who he is or what he's about. And just like I would expect the same from me. You know, he obviously has what I feel is an erroneous perspective on who I am. So, at least based on what I've heard other people say. So, you know, I would welcome him at any point to call me. My number, everyone has it. Everyone in my district has it. It's very, very easy. I'm very easy to get a hold of. And be more than happy to meet with him and air out, you know, things. But I am concerned tremendously with those two issues, and those are very recent. Again, this is not stuff that we're talking about 5, 10, because I know that there are people that have been around this government for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. But these are recent things that have happened in the last few years that cause me a lot of concern. Thank you, and I appreciate
Mr. Chairman?
Mr.
Yes.
Chair? Mr. Chair, may I say a couple of words?
Yes,
With one commission meeting left, everybody's probably wondering why say anything, because this is important. Number one, I want to clear, he was not part of the negotiating team. He did attend some of the meetings at other people's requests. He was not part of our negotiating team, and I found him to be counterproductive. He wasn't even helpful.
Thank you.
That's number one. Number two, my bad, I'm putting on the RFP, on that RFP selection. I regret that to the day I did it.
thank you.
And I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to discuss this matter in an open way where everyone who is here can hear what people's opinions are, everyone who's watching in TV land can understand what the people's opinions are, and I can have an opportunity to hear all of your opinions without violating the Sunshine Law. All right?
And
Thank you so much.
I'd like to just complete the record so that you all know this. So when I first became chairman of the City of Miami Commission and Mr. Kneapler decided to sit in on meetings, I refused to sit because I don't sit with people who are not either employed by the City of Miami, elected by the City of Miami, and I did not attend those meetings any longer. So I'd like to know what everybody's role in government is. I think they should be clear and announced. So I want to put that on the record as well.
Okay, thank you. Next.
That concludes the...
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
BC 12, I'd like to nominate Eric Zakara.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the boards and committees.
Okay, you guys want to take 5 before we go into the 11 o'clock, certain?
Sure.
5. We all 5 now.